Hu, Haru Nefer, Namaste, Assalamu Alaikum, Shalom. This is Kasak Ma Keperu with another broadcast for you. 2 seconds. Let me do that again. Assalamu Alaikum, Namaste, Haru Nefer. This is Kasak Ma Keperu with another broadcast for you. I had to plug the mic in. I couldn't believe I left that out. Oh my God. I was actually watching some videos online. So I want to do a new broadcast here. And we're going to talk about something very exciting, which is powerful self-hypnosis techniques. So this is really going to be able to help you in your spiritual ascension. So get ready. Take some notes, which you should always be taking notes. That's very, very important. And it was interesting because today, I allowed my person to be a little bit down and depressed because I shifted and reflected back on my past, and I saw that I had a lot of abundance in my past, but a good friend of mine, she had said something, and I remember it, and I got really upset about what she said. But since she's very cute like me, I let it go because I only hang with cute girls, okay? She said something to the effect that I don't care about anybody, or I don't take anything serious. And at the time, it didn't bother me, but then I said, wait, hold on a second. Is she right? And I reflected about how my mother, Ma'at, had blessed me with a lot of things. But through my youth, I never took it serious. I just took a lot of things for granted. So I was reflecting back on that, and I was like, maybe I could have focused more on this and focused more on that. But it's okay. You know why? Because when you are a magi, a magician, you can always create abundance in your life, because the nature of all that is in God, Nectar, Source is abundance. You cannot add to it and you cannot subtract to it. You see, in the very beginning, according to scientists, there was the Big Bang. And in that Big Bang, all that there was created. So you cannot subtract, you cannot add to Nectar. All right. And we can debate the Big Bang Theory because I personally don't subscribe to that, but that's a discussion for another time and place. But what we're going to get into here is some very powerful techniques that can help you overcome certain things. Like, for example, if you have a habit of smoking, or you're overly emotional, or you have anger issues, or if you just have real weird quirks or addictions. A lot of addictions that people I talk to have are to chocolate cake. People love chocolate, but that's a minor addiction. That's not really bad. If you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to make sure you stick to your schedule and you go to the gym, these self-hypnosis techniques are very, very good, okay? And I'm going to share how you can do this. Now, as many of you magicians know, I am not a fan of people like Anthony Robbins. Is that his name? Yeah, Anthony Roberts or Robbins? Robbins. Who cares? Because these individuals come along with these motivational hype talks, makes millions of dollars, and all it is a Band-Aid, okay? They get you excited, which is basically raising your Kundalini energy. They get you excited, but they don't know anything about the occult science, about how you as a person works. They don't understand that the nature of who you are is composed of many different divisions. There's the Kahabid, the Kabat, the Sahu, the Ab, the Shakam, the Ku, and then the Ba, and then the Ka. They don't know anything about these divisions of your spirit. And therefore, all they want to do is get you in and take money. I think Anthony, well, I'm not going to go into detail, but charge a lot of money. And then they get you pumped up and excited, which is great. But then after you leave the seminar, you go back to your old self, okay? And then you start to go back into the old patterns and just repeat those negative, what we call as conditionings, okay? There also can be called, when you look at like NLP, and I'll refer to that a lot throughout this, is NLP, they kind of refer to them as patterns, okay? So if there are things that you're doing in your life and you're trying to change your life, you formed a habit, okay? And that could be a pattern or a programming. Now, in Scientology, if you ever experiment or get into Scientology, they call it an engram. That means you create an engram. An engram can be created from many, many things, okay? But once these patterns or conditionings, as we say again in Kemetic culture, are formed, they're very, very hard to get rid of because they've attached themselves to a belief system. And really it forms its own ecosystem or ecology, and you've got to really vet them out, meaning that you can have one belief system which is here and another belief system could really be hiding behind it. So when you eliminate this one belief system and this one so-called habit, this other one pops up, which was really the source of the one which we call is the parent. So you have the parent and the child relationship, parent-child. So you think by attacking the parent that you rid yourself of the conditioning, but the child's still there, and that was the one that was actually creating the problem from the get-go. So you have to be very careful of how you deal with these situations. So the reason why I point out that these motivational lectures and talks don't really do anything but just pump you up for a short duration of time is because we know, coming from a Kemetic culture, coming from a spiritual culture, a culture of melanated people, love my melanated skin, okay, just having some fun, that, you know, that, and of course, there's anyway, I don't know how to get into that, but I was going to say, I'm not all melanated, but his mixture of races there, so we all know that. But that was my point. Darn it, I lost my darn point. All right, getting into all of that. That most indigenous cultures, if you looked at them, practice trance induction. Trance induction is the same thing as hypnosis. All right, there's no difference, okay? Or hypnotherapy, however you want to coin it. You know, that is Sebek. Sebek, the deity Sebek, who we love and respect and honor, gives us the names and categories and definition of things. So Duawu Sebek, meaning thank you, Sebek. But all cultures of melanated complexion on this planet worked through the subconscious mind, through the spirit, through trance induction, which is why we had rituals and we had the beating of the drums, bah, 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 and that took you into an alternate state of consciousness. Whereas in Western society, they had a little thing that went, watch this. You're going deeper and deeper to sleep, which worked. That worked. Hypnotherapy is very effective, and I totally subscribe to it. And what I also like, now I'm not saying that I am a big proponent of Scientology. I have a lot of grievances with it, but I also think there's a lot positive things in it, and it was taken from Indian culture. But what it does is it seeks to attack the issue from the subconscious mind, and that's what you have to do. So anytime that you find yourself dealing with issues in life, don't try to attack them by talking to the problem. You know, we may go to a psychologist and they may work through the Freudian technique of having us lie on the couch and having this discussion where we, you know, the psychologist doesn't take a side either way, but it helps you to reach an epiphany about what your problems are. And then you realize all you did was pay all this money just to talk to yourself because that individual did not help you in any way, but kind of guided you in a way, you know, which is ludicrous. All right. This is why Scientology has a lot of problems with modern day psychology. And this is why I have a lot of problems with modern day psychology as well. But the thing is, we have to know that the progenitor of our problems comes from the subconscious mind. Now, in ancient culture, we call it the spirit, okay? Because we understood that there was, it's an entity. It's, you know, it's something that is within us, you know, and only through proper communication can we then change a pattern, conditioning, or engram. Do you understand what I'm saying? And one of the most effective tools that came out that were able to take this on was NLP, neuro linguistic programming, because it came out of some very smart Sebek people, which understood that there is a way that you communicate to the subconscious mind through language patterns and also through imagery. And that I felt was one of the first times that we really dealt with this on the right level. Whereas most in Western society went back to the motivational thinking and the talking. And let me just take a side note on this. Those who suffer from depression, one of the things you must understand is that you can't talk them out of depression. A lot of times, depression comes from a chemical imbalance, and there's other things that go on. But you can't say to a person, oh, just take the bull by the horns. Just life is so great. Just go out there and meet it head on. That doesn't work, you know? So I just want you to understand that, you have to, and even sometimes when you're working with somebody who has depression, a lot of times meditation is not enough, that you really have to deal with it on a level of understanding that they be lacking in a type of nutrient in their body. And I know for a long time as a vegan, I didn't realize that when you become a vegan, you have to really make sure you're getting a lot of protein. And if your body doesn't get protein, it talks to you, and it talks to you in weird ways. It sends you into a state of depression. Your bones start to get weak, and all things start to happen. This is your body, again, communicating to you like, hey, I need some protein. Eat some damn nuts, get some beans, So that's what it's trying to tell you. But now let's go back to this. Okay, so I'm going to give you some deep, deep secrets of how ancient cultures operated. All right, this is why modern anthropologists and the Egyptologists, when they went to Africa and Kemet, they could not understand what our ancestors were doing. And even in China, when they went to explore, and the original Chinese people, the Nak people, they were the Chinese people, the first ones to come out of Africa or the Great Migration. They practice their own type of self-hypnosis. And it's evident even in today. And I'm going to explain. This is going to be deep. Take notes, all right? And I'm serious to all you magi in there. But first, I'm going to greet you, Mr. T, Haroon Nefer, Octavia, Hatepu, D, Namaste, Takia, Jet, Hatepu, Mike, Haru, Nefer, Classy Keys, Tepu. All right. Now, I want all the magi or the magicians to tell me what they manifested today. Because when I woke up, I told you today what I manifested. Did I really? Maybe I didn't, but that's okay. Tell me what you manifested today. Put that in the chat box. Let's have a discussion about what you did with your power today. Because remember, as God man and God woman, we're shifting through parallel realities. And if you understood the teachings that I've given you, you understand that you can shift at any one time to create the reality that you want to experience. And with the frame, the core belief system that you must always have to make this happen is that you are God, you are Neter. And remember, I brought myself into being. And then I created the objective realm so that I could interact with myself and gain experience, okay? So that is what it's all about, okay? So we're going to get into this whole thing of self-hypnosis. One of the things that I started doing when I was working with my hypnotherapist, because yes, I did study hypnotherapy and I paid a lot of money to go to classes and really understand the inner workings of the subconscious mind. So one of the things I did was I told my hypnotist, my hypnotherapist said, do you want to go for certification? I said, well, no, I'd rather you teach me how to self-hypnotize myself. I said, I would love to do it on my own instead of keep coming here. And certification is great. Maybe I'll do it down the road. But, he says, okay, good. He says, I can show you a lot of stuff, and we don't have to stay to the curriculums for you to get certified since you don't want to get certified. So he taught me a lot of techniques. But most of it I already knew because, number one, when I reincarnated, I was a priest in my previous life. So a lot of things were very instinctive to me. I just knew them. But more so than that, I've already was in the priesthood. So by that time, I left the priesthood, and I already knew about trance induction and meditation, transcendental meditation, all that stuff. So I knew all about that. It wasn't like spooky to me and new to me. Some people freak out. Oh, don't hypnotize me. You're going to make me do things. No, I can't make you do something you don't want to do. It doesn't work that way. Though I wish I could, because if I did, I would have Halle Berry right now. But anyway, that's a different story. But Hey, so let's get to the details of this. Now, as I said before, coming from Western society, the way they tell you to tackle your problems is to have some type of intellectual discourse so you can reach an epiphany to what causes your problems, and therefore it makes a radical change in you. Bull pucky, that does not work. You can tell somebody all you want that, hey, you got to stop smoking, but they're addicted. There's an engram created. There is a conditioning there. They can't stop. It's compulsive now. It's very deep seated in the subconscious mind. So that's not going to work. Yes, you can send them to a motivational seminar, they can get pumped up. Then a couple of days after that, they want to stop smoking. But then when the trigger mechanism hits them, which is usually a stressful event, they'll go back to smoking. So case in point, I was, this is a little off the track, but I was in this fast food joint. I was in there and there was this guy and I could see his eyes were red and he was begging for money. And this couple gave him $1 and immediately, you know, he said he wanted the money for food, but when he got the $1, he immediately left. He didn't buy any food. But the one thing I looked at him and, you know, you got to understand that, you know, I'm not passing judgment. I can't pass judgment because only God can judge. But what I do know is that these individuals need help. They have become addicted. They have gone through a series of events that have led them there. So we have to have sympathy for them, and we need to understand that these are not low lives or people who are rejects. And because this society is not based on ma'at, truth, justice, and righteousness, the goddess Ma'at, it vilifies the victims when the true perpetrators are the ruling elite in our government, because they know darn well that they do not distribute resources evenly. They do not have services that can help people. They know that that people will become chemically dependent if you create social conditions that will stress people out enough, such as not being able to find a job, not getting adequate food, good food, vegan food, or fresh fruits and vegetables. So they know that these things can cause a certain amount of level of stress in individuals, which sometimes, depending upon your background, your DNA, your family heritage, what you're prone to, can push you over the edge. But anyway, I digress. Let's get back to the point. So you need to be able to take charge in your life and say, listen, I understand that I'm living in a world that's socially engineered to stress me out and to create these programmed conditionings to where I may be an impulsive buyer. I may be overly emotional and get into fights very easy. So I need to deal with these things, especially if you're in a relationship. You need to be more at peace in your relationship, more and more in love. And that's a point I want to make to you, is that the idea of an emotional, invoking a certain emotion, you can invoke any emotion you want. These are not knee-jerk reactions. You can create within yourself to fall in love with just anybody. You can do that. It's not a thing where somebody comes along and you're like, oh, you know, they were just so beautiful, and I never saw somebody so beautiful like that before. That's actually a program. That's a conditioning. You know, and Hedaru tells us, we know that Hedaru Hathor, my aunt, that you have the ability within you, if you go through trance induction or hypnosis, that you can fall in love with anybody by merely giving yourself a post-hypnotic suggestion if you go deep enough into trance. Now, we have to understand this, and this is one of the precursors to all of this, is that the reality that you're experiencing, this fourth dimensional plane, is really nothing more than a hypnosis state. You're in hypnosis right now. You don't understand that or don't realize that, but you are in a hypnosis state. You're in a hypnosis state, and you've been placed there by the ruling elite because they put out there certain frequencies, symbolisms, and colors and things to induce you into a trance state. Now you can flip the script. You can change the channel to an alternate trance state. You can do that anytime you want, as long as you understand how to self hypnotize yourself or put yourself into a state of trance. You can fall out of love with somebody. You can turn that off if you want. You can turn off anger and fear if you want. A lot of times when I work, the trigger mechanism that I use is just a snap of a finger. Like I know that when I want to go deep, deep into state, I have the post-hypnotic suggestion, which is called deep sleep, deep sleep. And I go deep, deep. And then when I want to go deeper, then I do this and I'm really, really deep into trance state now. And then as I'm into that state, I start to either have visualizations or I give myself affirmations or post-hypnotic suggestions, okay? And then I come out. All right. And this is what you need to learn to do. And that's going to help you in your journey and in your life, because you're never going to become the God man and God woman you're supposed to be unless you control those emotions. And it's not all your fault, because I said before, as I said prior, you're living in a corrupt world that's socially engineered to program you, brainwash you. And chief among that is the idea that you're just human and that the outside world is an objective reality and you can't control it. There's nothing you can do, when it really is you who is projecting that reality, you who is creating that reality. And you can even time shift into the future to see your future self and to communicate with your future self through hypnotic regression. Okay? So with that said, you can manifest a peaceful day. You can say, I will manifest a peaceful day. Take yourself into trance and say, when I come out, the day will be different. And there was a good friend of mine who woke up one morning, he had some problems with his kids. And he was like, well, what do I do? I mean, I have problems with my kids. My car didn't work. You know, I got into an argument with a friend. And he says, day is just going wrong. Like, how do you handle something like this? I said, that's easy. You would do what I call is you reboot, meaning that you either do this. You go out when you get a minute, and he has a very busy schedule. You take a walk, all right? You relax. Take a walk, preferably where there's green grass and trees, okay? Or you sit down, close your eyes, go into trance state, and then tell yourself you're going to shift to an alternate reality where things are in alignment with your wishes, okay? Now, that's the minor way of doing it, but there's a real system to this, okay? Now, for that, I want to talk about a book that I discovered several years ago, which I was surprised at because it actually was on point with some stuff. You know, this is called Self-Hypnosis Revolution. You should get this book. It's by Forbes Robbins Blair. Okay, Self-Hypnosis Revolution. Okay. Now let me explain, because I think he hits it on the nail with this one. Okay, he's probably one of the first authors that I saw that kind of like was leading back to the ancient ways that it was done. Now, if you notice, right, in our cultures, one thing that we did was we were very good on ceremony. Or hold on one second, I'm just going to take a sip to clear my throat. Oh man, that vodka tastes good. All right, just kidding. So we were very big on ceremony. Remember what I talked about earlier before, Chinese culture? If you go look at, if you go to China, you'll see that a lot of their culture they've been able to retain. And through colonialism, a lot of the African culture has been dispersed or destroyed. But we look at our culture in China, from our ancestors in China, we can see that they're very big on ceremony. You know, in terms of tea ceremony, in terms of the way certain, like women will walk, men will walk, and how you bow and things of that nature. Now, let me explain this, because this is really key to this. All right. When you perform a ritual, all right, one of the key things about a ritual that makes it really, really effective, I'm giving you a big secret here, okay? One of the things that makes it really effective is the process of analogy, when things are analogous. Okay, so what do I mean by that? Let us say you're doing a ritual because you're trying to find a mate, right? So on the ritual, of course, you would petition Heteru, okay, to help you, because she's the goddess of love. And you would do it on a Friday because that's her day. Okay, and you would put like rose petals, which I actually did. I just did a little bit of that, and yellow candles or whatever. But one of the most important things you could do, and a young woman I was working with, she was what you could say, I guess, a witch, and she was very good at the ritual thing. And she did her ritual, and she had 2 glasses of wine sitting there of red. I think it was red wine. Yeah, 2 glasses of wine. Now, why is that effective? Okay, because that is an analogy to a couple getting together, the 2 glasses of wine together, and the glasses are full. Okay, so analogies are important because they're analogous, meaning they relate to something. And I talked about before how the subconscious mind doesn't understand verbal dialogue. That's the left brain. The right brain understands symbolism, metaphors, and analogies. Okay, so when you put in your ritual there and you have things like 2 wine glasses together, the right brain keys on that and that says, oh, yeah, this is the pairing of a couple. Let me manifest that for you. That's how it works. For example, if I do a money ritual and I'm petitioning my mother, Ma'at, for money, I may put $1 there. Now, that's not the money I want. I want maybe $1,000. But the subconscious mind sees that as a symbol and it works to generate more money. Or I may put a little treasure chest there, and that is a key to my subconscious mind to manifest money, even though the treasure chest is empty. So I'm just trying to get you to understand. And this is what, if you look at ancient cultures like Kemet, Egypt, when you read the Medduneter, the hieroglyphics, they use a lot of puns in their stories. Puns take on, they have more than one meaning, and this is how they thought, because they were a right brain culture and they understood to communicate with the right brain. They use a lot of analogies. So when you're seeing deeper meanings beyond certain things, then it becomes a very powerful tool to communicate with your subconscious mind. Now, the book Self-Hypnosis Revolution talks just about that, the use of analogies. One of the things it talks about, and I'll give you it makes associations in your everyday life. Now, here's the beauty of this technique. It calls for you to go about your daily life. Don't stop what you're doing, but the everyday activities you do, the ceremonies you do, the repetitive things you do, like taking a shower, brushing your teeth, combing your hair, are instruments now to take you into trance state, to hypnotize yourself, because they are repetitive things you do. And repetition takes you from the left brain to the right subconscious mind. And while you're doing these things, you can then induce trance state and then seed yourself with post-hypnotic suggestions. But you have to understand the analogies as to what you're doing. For example, if I'm taking a shower, the act of taking a shower is an analogy for cleansing myself of negative energy. So while I'm doing that, I feed myself post-hypnotic suggestions like I am cleansing myself of negative energy and starting my life anew. Okay, so let me give you some examples here. He has one, I think, on money too. All right, so like exiting, okay? Key associations, release, change. Anytime we exit a place, we leave behind where we've been and move into other areas. This is symbolic of change in self or states of consciousness that involve letting go of that which has passed and moving on to matters at hand. Whenever you exit a room, a building, or an office, consider the importance of letting go of one area of thought or life so you can concentrate on another one. So if you want to start anew and your life is just in the toilet and you're saying, okay, so when you're exiting something, like you're exiting the building, exiting your room, he's come up with these post-hypnotic suggestions for different areas. So let's say career and finances. Here's one. I change my career and finances for the better and release the hold of past experiences. For relationships, I change my relationship for the better by letting go of my past hurts. Okay. So what happens when you start to repeat mundane things in your life? You don't realize you're doing it. Like most times you won't remember locking your door with your keys because you're on autopilot. But that is the precise time that you can now hypnotize yourself or put yourself into a state of trance to see the things that you now want if you understand the associations or analogies that go along with that specific mundane act. All right. So let's go to another one. I want to get some really, and he really, okay, here's one. Let's say driving home, key associations, self-knowledge. Home is a symbol for the self. Driving home, therefore, is symbolic for having the motivation for knowing yourself and all that is truly important to you. So let's look at career and finances. I drive myself to understanding what makes me feel successful. Relationships. I drive myself to understand how I think and behave with others. All right. Let me, okay, here's one. Cooking meat. Oh, look at that. I love the way he drills down on this. Cooking meat. Key association. Preparing substantial substance. Cooking meat is representative of preparing that which will provide substantial substance to mind, body, and spirit. Meat can also represent complex principles or concepts. Relationships. I prepare to provide myself with hearty and substantial relationships. Career and finances. I prepare to provide myself with substantial sources of income. So while you're cooking and preparing meat, which is mundane to you because you've done it a million times, and you're just going to, it's like a rote thing to you, you're going to automatically shift from left to right brain and you'll put yourself into a state of trance. So why not start working on hypnotizing yourself or self-hypnosis through this process? He even has cooking pasta. Key associations, preparation for satisfaction, fulfillment, because we know carbs are, we can become addicted to carbs, and carbs are a way of nurturing yourself, meaning that it makes you a little bit more relaxed. Cooking pasta is a metaphor for preparing that which provides fulfillment and satisfaction in our lives. Career and finances. I prepare to provide myself with a satisfying and fulfilling career and lifestyle. All right. Let me see, we have another one. He even has cleaning here. If you're cleaning your house, if you're sweeping, for example, if you're sweeping, this is a way where you're just getting rid of old things in your life, moving on to something new. And there are affirmations from there. He has car maintenance, changing oil. What else does he have? Baby care, feeding your baby, which is on a set type of energy. Feeding a baby is a metaphor for nurturing the most vulnerable parts of the self. This may apply, for example, to one's body image or to some fledgling idea for some area of life. So mental wellness. I lovingly feed my mind with gentle thoughts to help it become stronger. Career finance. I nurture my ideas for a better career and growing finances. And then you have baking and what else? Working, law enforcement. So if you're a policeman, a law enforcer, it says key associations, self-discipline, self-protection. So if you're a cop, this is something you can do. Law enforcement jobs, for example, police or judges, are a metaphor for the discipline needed to protect the self. So spirituality, I protect my soul from all harmful influences. Relationship, I regulate my actions and words to protect my relationships from harm. So anyway, I think you get the general idea of this. So going back to what I was saying with our ancestors, when you would see us do all of this ritual, or what we call as culture or customs, these things had a deeper meaning behind them. They just weren't arbitrary things that we did. The mere act of going into a house and bowing had a very symbolistic form to it. It meant more than just bowing. That Westerners who were historians who came and saw that didn't understand what we were doing because they were operating, again, from left brain perspective, and the left brain can't comprehend things like metaphors, you know? So even when you're brushing your teeth, that is an analogy to something, all right? So I want you to think about using these type of things in your daily routine. They're very simple things that could have a powerful effect if done through repetition. one or two things. I mean, if you get up and you brush your teeth the first day and you feed yourself a post-hypnotic suggestion, it's not going to make an impact. But if you do these things over the course of 28 days, the moon cycle, you're going to see a profound change and profound effect. For example, you could be brushing your teeth, and because it's such a mundane thing, it's going to send you into a trance state. But if you're thinking about acquiring money or finding money or having your business take off, every day that you do that and you think about your business taking off, it's going to feed that energy, and it's going to explode, and it's going to bring to you that which you desire. Now, there are other things, which is the straight off process of sitting down, closing your eyes, and then meditating and going into the hypnosis state. But I want to focus on this because I think Forbes, in his book, Forbes Blair, really hit on something that ancient cultures practice all the time, because you're talking about when you're looking at in antiquity, survival was tough. So there wasn't a lot of time to sit and meditate or go to a hypnotherapist and place you into trance state. So they incorporated the trance state into tea ceremonies, into planting of seeds in the farms. You know, all of those things meant something very significant to us. And it helped us to build magnificent cultures because we understood how to tap into the spirit. And the spirit is what can help manifest the things that we want in life. All right. So if you make your life about importance in terms of everything you do, you attach an intention to it, then your life is going to be beautiful. And as I walked outside today, and I said, I gave myself permission, my personal permission to get a little down today. And I reflected when I was walking down the street, I reflected back to a moment of positive energy. And I said, I am going to force that energy and that perspective onto this reality. This reality will not allow my person to get depressed. In fact, when you feel yourself not having the things in your life that you want, and things not going right, and the world seems to be beating up on you, go back to a time in your life of joy and pleasure. Take a moment and visualize that feeling internally, then come out of that state and force it upon the reality that you're experiencing now. Do not accept what you see in front of you because it deceives you. Because as I said, what is in front of you is just a hypnotic state. And you can, anytime you want, change that. You're in a movie. You can change the movie. I don't like this movie. I want to watch a science fiction. Change it. It's all about your perspective as God-man, God-woman. All right? Because ultimately, when you understand how trance state works, you understand that you control the emotions within you, that you can feel however you want. Now, I'm not saying that you can go out there tomorrow and snap your finger and feel joyful. No, it takes time because you already have a program. You already have a conditioning. You already have an engram. And that thing's going to fight tooth and nail. It's not going without a fight. So you're going to have to deal with that. And as I said before, most likely it was created by social conditioning, your parents, the society around you. So let me just take a moment and just ask everyone to hit the like button and subscribe to this channel if you're watching it, if you like my videos. And if you can, I'll put the donation link in. Feel free to donate so that I can keep making videos and keep writing ebooks and doing a lot of great research to help bring more knowledge to help people. So going back to what I was saying is take no prisoners. When you're feeling down, go back into that emotion. There has to be a point in your life where you experience something very joyful. The birth of your son, the birth of your daughter, the time you did a scratch and win game and won, I don't know, $3,000 or whatever. Go back for that joyful moment and then force that moment upon your present state. Because when you embody that emotion in the present state, you put yourself into a trance state and it changes reality around you. And you may not see an immediate change. In fact, I went to the oracle, the I-Ching, and I asked the oracle, I said, how are these changes come about? And the I-Ching said, and when you talk to the I-Ching, who are you talking to? You're talking to God. You're talking to yourself. And the I-Ching said these changes happen, small changes, but the small changes build upon one another to form the bigger picture. So you're going to see evidence of small changes. Let that build your faith, and then keep proceeding along that path. Don't stop because you're not seeing a dramatic change in your life. It's going to come. Only the most powerful magicians can instantly change the reality and shift to a parallel world where things are in exact alignment with what they want. You'll get there. It'll take some time. You'll get there. You'll be that powerful. I promise you, if you put these techniques into play, you will get there one day to where you're powerful enough to shift realities at your will. But for now, accept and be happy with the small changes that you're going to witness, and let it build your faith in magic. And let yourself understand, and this is key, that there's no outside entity that's doing this. There's no outside God that's doing this. You are God, and you are doing this. No one else. All right, because the minute you fall victim to understanding or thinking that there's something out there that's really blessing you or doing things for you, then you fall into a trap. Because you see, NLP got it right. NLP talks about how you command the spirit through language patterns, and the spirit through these language patterns can or will obey you in a way. So you have to be careful of what you say. Because if you start talking about God and not I, then you are relinquishing your power. And the I-Ching tells us about you give up your magic tortoise, meaning that you've given away your power to someone else, to an intermediary, to a priest, to a guru. You are the guru, okay? You are the creator of everything around you. If you don't like it, then change it. Put yourself into the state of trance and change it. And no matter what you see before you, don't lose faith and don't accept it as valid. I've already done this. I've said to myself, none of this stuff is real. I know it's not real. I know I'm interacting with holograms. And I mean that from a deep core belief system, because I've already done the thousands of hours of trance work to change the belief system from believing that there's a physical reality. I don't subscribe to that. I don't believe there's a physical reality. And that's how I'm able to manifest things in my life. And that's why you have to do the same thing. You have to get to a point of where you believe to your core that the reality that you see before you does not exist. Now, that doesn't mean you can walk out into the street and get hit by a car and still survive. Don't try to play that game, all right? Oh, you hear that honking? Talk about synchronicity. But don't play that game, because you made a pre-life agreement, and we all subscribe to the MCA, the Mass Consensus Agreement. That Mass Consensus Agreement says, if you get hurt, you go to the hospital, okay? So think about that. So with that said, let me see what, do you Magi's have any questions before I move on that I can answer for you in terms of the technique and how you can apply it and the wonders it can show for your life? Any questions? Let me just take a quick look here. Yes, Self-Hypnosis Revolution, that's what it's called. Oh, great. Okay. So you manifested a peaceful day, no noise, no drama, no bad. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Okay. All right. Yes, it is all about, Mel, reprogramming the subconscious mind. And there's depths and levels to that. Hey, Mike, you know what? I will do that. I will set up a super chat donation. I'll do that very, very soon. So in the meantime, feel free to donate through PayPal. So I want to thank you all for tuning in here. And again, if you have an opportunity to get the book, and I am always here for you guys. If you guys have questions, just email me at kesonk@gmail.com. I love answering your questions. If you have questions about techniques or what you should do, or even mantras, there are certain mantras that you can use, and I can assist you guys with finding the right mantra for a particular objective you're trying to achieve in your life. So with that said, I think I've said it. Let me just greet Anthony, Haru Nefer Anthony. I think I've said, I greeted everybody here. Is there a particular date on which you can start? Is there a particular date on which you can start? Start right away. I would just start. Get this going as soon as possible. Is that what you mean in terms of like, there's no date with this? And remember, like, again, as I said, our ancestors, if you go back and you look at the things that our ancestors did, from a left brain linear perspective, some of that didn't make any sense. You're like, well, why do they always have these really elaborate ceremonies for doing this or doing that? I mean, the women, when they would make dresses, they had these certain ways of doing that, because the women would put themselves into trance while they're making the dresses. And then they would focus on an objective for their family, for their clan. All right. That's how it was done. That's how our ancestors did everything. You know what I mean? So every act, and I mean that sincerely, everything that we did was analogous to something. It had an intention behind it. Even the act of walking out into the street had a type of metaphor behind it that they focused on to put them into a trance state to achieve that objective. All right. So I want to thank you all. And as usual, hit the like button. Hit the bell there if you want to be notified of my next broadcast, because they'll let you know when I'm going live. And subscribe to the Patreon campaign. Donate if you can. If you're in a position to donate, would appreciate it. This is Kasank Ma Keperu, son of Ma'at Amun Ra.